Calls are growing louder in the United Kingdom for England and Scotland to boycott the 2026 FIFA World Cup that is set to be co-hosted by the United States in months from now.
The German politician Jürgen Hart, a member of the Christian Democratic Union, has raised the idea of a potential World Cup boycott in a German newspaper.
The countdown to World Cup 2026 was supposed to be a celebration of football's global reach, a tournament spread across the United States, Canada, and Mexico that would expand the game to 48 teams and 104 matches for the first time in history. Instead, a storm is building around it. Petitions are circulating across Europe. Lawmakers are speaking openly about withdrawal. Former FIFA leadership figures are urging fans to stay away. What should have been a festival of sport is now tangled in immigration crackdowns, military interventions, and accusations that the world's most popular tournament is being reshaped into a political spectacle. The question hanging over it all is no longer about tactics or title favorites, but about whether the event itself can unfold without becoming something far more divisive. In the Netherlands, more than 150,000 citizens signed a petition urging their national team to boycott the 2026 World Cup in the United States. The petition, launched by a prominent journalist, argues that participation would risk turning players into unwilling symbols in a political campaign. That number represents one of the largest football-related civic petitions in Dutch history, and it signals how deeply the issue has cut into public debate. The Royal Dutch Football Association, the KNVB, has declined to commit to a boycott and says it will continue to monitor developments, yet the pressure has not eased. Germany is experiencing similar tension. CDU lawmaker Jürgen Hart has publicly proposed that Germany reconsider its participation. Bernd Neuendorf's federation has officially rejected a boycott for now, but voices inside German football remain restless. Oke Göttlich, vice president of the German Football Association and chairman of FC St. Pauli, has called for serious consideration of withdrawal. A survey of 1,000 Germans found that 47% would support a boycott if the United States were to annex Greenland, reflecting how foreign policy rhetoric has seeped into sports culture. France has taken a more cautious tone. President of the French National Olympic and Sports Committee, Amélie Oudéa-Castéra, has stated that a boycott is not under consideration at this stage. Belgium has emphasized sporting preparation and avoided political commentary. In the United Kingdom, Conservative MP Simon Hoare has called on England, Scotland, and Wales to boycott in order to embarrass Donald Trump, while Liberal Democrat MP Lauch Taylor has argued that public pressure may be the only language certain leaders understand. In France, Éric Coquerel of La France Insoumise has floated the idea of shifting hosting duties entirely to Canada and Mexico. Across Europe, debate is no longer confined to sports pages. It is unfolding in parliaments and national news broadcasts. Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter, largely silent since leaving office, has added fuel by backing Swiss lawyer Mark Peeth's call for fans to avoid traveling to the United States for the tournament. Blatter's intervention is significant not because he commands official power, but because it underscores how unusual this moment feels even to veterans of football governance. The roots of the backlash stretch beyond sport. Immigration enforcement inside the United States has intensified, with expanded travel bans affecting several countries expected to participate in the World Cup. Reports of tighter visa scrutiny have circulated widely. During preparations for the 2025 Club World Cup, members of Iran's delegation reportedly struggled to secure visas, with only 4 of 9 officials granted entry for the December 2025 draw. Incidents involving asylum seekers detained near MetLife Stadium during that tournament deepened anxieties about how visiting fans might be treated in 2026. For supporters traveling from Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, uncertainty about entry procedures and potential detention has become part of the conversation. Yet immigration policy alone does not explain the scale of European anger. The larger rupture stems from a series of geopolitical moves that critics describe as destabilizing. Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to seize Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark and a NATO ally. He has proposed tariffs of 10% on goods from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland. He has suggested that Canada could become the 51st state and has warned of potential military action against Mexico. The most dramatic escalation came on January 3, 2026, when Operation Absolute Resolve unfolded in Venezuela. According to official statements, more than 150 U.S. military aircraft were deployed. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were captured and flown to New York for trial. 32 Cuban soldiers were reportedly killed while attempting to protect Maduro. The United States announced that it would administer Venezuela. International reaction was swift and polarized. Supporters framed it as decisive action. Critics described it as the unilateral arrest of a sitting head of state and a dangerous precedent in international law. Against that backdrop, World Cup 2026 began to look less like a sporting event and more like a platform. In March 2025, the White House created a task force dedicated to the FIFA World Cup 2026. Donald Trump was named chair. Vice President J.D. Vance became vice chair. Andrew Giuliani, son of Rudy Giuliani, was appointed executive director. FIFA President Gianni Infantino became a frequent presence at the White House. The symbolism intensified in July 2025 at the Club World Cup final. Trump had kept the tournament trophy in the Oval Office since March. When Chelsea won the final on July 13th, they were handed a replica while the original remained in Washington. Trump stayed on the podium during the celebration, even as Infantino appeared to signal for him to step aside. Players such as Cole Palmer and Reece James looked uncertain as the ceremony unfolded. Trump took a medal and placed it in his suit pocket. The images spread quickly, feeding perceptions that football's global stage was being woven into a political narrative. Infantino's own conduct has drawn scrutiny. He was present at Mar-a-Lago on election night in November 2024 and attended Trump's inauguration on January 20th, 2025, speaking about working together to make not only America great again, but the entire world. FIFA opened an office inside Trump Tower in July 2025. On December 5th, 2025, at the World Cup draw, Infantino presented Trump with the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize titled Football Unites the World. The award was created shortly after Trump brokered a Congo-Rwanda peace agreement, and only days after renewed threats regarding Greenland. Several FIFA Council members reportedly learned of the prize through a press release. Human rights group Fair Square filed a complaint with FIFA's Ethics Committee. Infantino defended the decision, stating that Trump objectively deserved recognition. He later announced that Trump would personally present the World Cup trophy to the champions on July 19, 2026. For critics, the optics are troubling. Every match risks being interpreted through a political lens. Every ceremony becomes another opportunity for association. The fear expressed across Europe is not that football is political in theory, but that it could be harnessed as a promotional instrument during a period of volatile foreign policy. History offers precedent, though none identical. The United States led a boycott of the 1980 Moscow Olympics to protest the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The Soviet Union did not withdraw, and many American athletes lost their only opportunity to compete on that stage. During the 1978 World Cup in Argentina, hosted under a military dictatorship, debates raged about whether participation legitimized the regime. German legend Paul Breitner warned that athletes should not become pawns in political games. In 2018, the World Cup proceeded in Russia after the annexation of Crimea. In 2022, Qatar hosted despite widespread criticism over labor conditions and migrant worker deaths. FIFA has awarded the 2034 tournament to Saudi Arabia, despite ongoing human rights concerns. Supporters of World Cup 2026 argue that consistency matters. If prior tournaments went forward amid controversy, singling out this edition risks selective outrage. They emphasize that 48 teams from every continent are preparing for a historic expansion. Broadcasters, sponsors, apparel companies, and national federations have invested heavily. FIFA projects that the tournament will generate approximately $10 billion in revenue and create more than 290,000 jobs in the United States. 78 matches are scheduled in U.S. cities, with 13 in Canada and 13 in Mexico. Contracts are signed. Infrastructure plans are underway. The Washington Post has assessed the likelihood of a full-scale boycott as extremely low. Still, numbers alone do not calm the debate. Canada and Mexico find themselves in complex positions. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney faces rhetoric about annexation from Washington. Mexican officials have expressed concern about threats of unilateral military action. American lawmakers have questioned whether aggressive immigration enforcement during the tournament could damage the country's global image. Analysts warn that the Venezuela operation may provide rhetorical cover for other powers to justify interventions elsewhere, citing Russia's actions in Ukraine or China's posture toward Taiwan. Human rights organizations, including Human Rights Watch, the ACLU, and the NAACP, have cautioned that global sporting events can become stages for political narratives. They argue that safeguarding the rights of players and fans must remain paramount. Behind closed doors, football executives are weighing financial obligations against reputational risk. Public opinion appears fluid. Grassroots campaigns continue to gather signatures. Social media amplifies every incident, every visa dispute, every diplomatic remark. Some supporters of action insist that athletes should not carry the burden of geopolitical protest. Others counter that silence can be interpreted as endorsement. The tension between principle and participation has rarely felt sharper. There are alternatives to outright boycott.